So what happens when a dealership can't sell a car? Now, I think the answer is going to shock you, and it's going to be the exact opposite of what you're thinking. So in this video, we're going to show you new car dealerships as well as used car dealerships and show you the differences between how they handle no sales. Now, first, we're going to start with new cars. Now, everybody knows if you drive to any lot here in the United States, there are trucks and cars piled up everywhere, especially EVs. They're just not moving. Now, a lot of people say it's because they're overpriced or the financing is not where it needs to be, but either way, the cars are sitting around and they're piling up. Now, most people's intuition is like, well, if they got all these cars sitting here, they need to lower the price. They need to basically give them away to get them out there. But what if I were to tell you that new car dealerships, franchise stores, are not allowed to lower the prices of their new vehicles? This is a real thing. They will get in trouble. So as a franchise dealer, you have to put a certain markup on your vehicle. So if the MSRP is, let's say on this G-Wagon, $150,000, that is your MSRP. Now, the only thing that a lot of these dealers can do is give more allowance trade, where if you trade in your vehicle, they can give you more money down to get rid of this unit, but that's all they can do. They have to wait until the actual manufacturer gives some sort of incentives to push these vehicles out. Now, especially with Stellantis, Jeeps, Dodge Rams, those things are not moving. So they're offering all kinds of incentives, $10,000 off, low interest, captive financing, all kinds of things to help move these cars. So when it comes to this, remember, every time you see a brand new dealership having a bunch of cars sitting on their lot and you start going over there lowballing them, it's not that they want to not sell you the car, it's just that they can't sell it for lower than what they're offering unless you bring in a trade. A lot of times, ask your sales rep, say, hey, is there any type of incentives, discounts? If I use one of your captive lenders, are you willing to do anything with me? And that's the only way they can move a lot of these new vehicles. Now, I know some people are going to chime in the comment section and be like, well, Lucky, this is 2025. The vehicle I'm looking at is a 2024. It's brand new, but it's been there for a year. Now, some manufacturers will allow them to discount this model heavily just to get it out the door, but some won't. They'll make you keep it almost the same price as what the new ones are going for. So you'll see a lot of dealerships actually turn this into a loaner vehicle, put about 500 miles on it, and then put it back up for sale as a used vehicle, just because it'll be easier for them to just get rid of that vehicle and get more. Now, dealerships get penalized if they don't sell enough of new cars. So it's very important for them to do whatever they can to sell brand new vehicles, because at the end of the day, you can always sell used cars, but they want the brand to live on. So if you're a Dodge dealership, you want to sell as many new Dodge trucks and Jeeps and whatever Stellantis wants to throw your way, you want to sell as many as you can. Another reason why new car dealerships want to sell as many cars as they can is because it gives them a bigger allocation allowance. So they can pick the cars that they really want. So if they want, let's say, a bunch of red Chargers or Challengers, they want more SRT models, they want, whatever the latest, greatest thing is, the higher sales amounts you have and the higher customer service score index, you'll get these cars and bigger allocations for them. Now, if you don't sell a lot of new cars and your customer service sucks, then more than likely you're gonna get sent a bunch of V6 white Chargers, and that's just the way it's gonna be. So keep this in mind when you're going shopping, and hopefully this will give you a little bit of an edge when you're dealing with the dealership. Next, we're going to talk about used car dealerships, and this one will absolutely blow your mind. Now, typically when a car sits there for 90 days, the way I was taught and the way you're supposed to do it is get rid of it. Lower the price, sell it to a customer, take it to the auction, just get it out of here. But for some reason, dealerships have basically turned retarded in the last few years and held on to everything since the pandemic. So they think that holding on this car for longer than 90 days is somehow going to make them more money. And this is one of those perfect examples of how they're throwing good money after bad money. So let's just say they bought this G-Wagon for $80,000. Once you buy it from the auction, you got to clean it up and you got to recon it, right? So we got our 80 grand, we got to put maybe some tires, do a tune-up on it. So here's a few $1,000. On day 30, most used car dealerships have a line of credit, and it's a very high interest rate and top of fees. So every 30 days, you got to pay a chunk of money. So let's just say here's another couple hundred to a couple $1,000s in fees and holding interest and holding costs. You got to wash the car and maintain it while it's sitting on your lot. Day 60 rolls around, still haven't sold it. Here's more money for gas, more money for detailing, and once again, you got to pay your flooring company, your line of credit, to hold this vehicle. Now, day 90 is when it gets very expensive. Your typical what's called curtailment goes 5%, 10%, 20%, which means you have to pay 20% of the vehicle on the 90-day marker. So if that's the case, you're gonna have to pay several thousands of dollars. We'll pretty much just throw all this in there to hold on to this vehicle. Now, the whole time they're sitting on this vehicle, the value is not going up, it's going down. So in your mind, you're thinking, well, great, this dealer's had this car for 90 days. This means that I should have a great opportunity at getting this car at a discount. Let's say they posted this thing up for $85,000. So you're thinking about offering them maybe $83,000, $84,000. Well, they probably would have took it the first week they would have had it. But now that they've had it and added all these carrying costs to it, what are they going to do? Well, they just added another $4,000 or $5,000 in fees, so they don't want to lose that money. They got to get it back. So this is why you'll see if you go to Car Gurus, they will delete the ads and repost the car for $5,000 or $6,000 more than what is originally posted. Even though the car's been on their lot for over 90 days, you're like, wait a minute, this car should be going down in price. Why is it going up? It's because they're throwing all the costs of the vehicle on top of it. Now, this is basically a really bad thing with managers. A lot of the used car managers are not very experienced. They're a bunch of clowns. It was just like in that upwards economy, everybody was making money, but now that the economy's slowing down, only the real people that know how to sell and buy cars are making money, and all these clowns are basically being exposed. So what do? They don't want to take this car to the auction. What they're supposed to do, sell it, or let a customer give them a good deal, sell it for 80 grand and kick it out the door and just recoup your costs on the next car. No. All their bonuses are tied on holding onto this vehicle and getting as much money as possible. So that vehicle is going to sit on that lot until the general manager or the used car sales manager gets exactly what they want. And that's what they're looking for. Because I hate to say this, and this is really bad, there are enough idiots out there willing to overpay for something they can't afford to drive something like this. And that's what they're waiting on. Now, unfortunately, in this economy, those idiots, they're not showing up with money and they have basically overextended credit. So they're not getting approved for this vehicle. So what is the next case scenario? What are they supposed to do? Once again, they either lower the price, which they should do, or take it to the auction, get rid of it, and recoup their costs. And you're going to see this quite a bit through the next probably 2 quarters, because all these dealers that we were talking about in my last video that were waiting for tax season to bail them out because, these people are going to have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 down. They're going to put all this money down on the G-Wagon that I'm buried in, and this is going to save my ass. I read a news article the other day saying that Cox Automotive saying that there's a record amount of used car sales going on. I don't know where they're getting their data, but everybody I've talked to, their application count is literally half of what it was last year. Cars are not selling. Even the cheap cars that were taken to the auction are simply not moving. So if these things are not moving, typically dealers, like I said, are supposed to take these cars and get rid of them. But if they can't, what else are they supposed to do? Now, this is where financing gets very, very creative. If you have good credit and you're able to work a deal, this is where something's going to happen for you, where you're going to get a smoking deal. I did the same thing to my R8 when I bought it. I said, hey, look, if you approve me for this amount of money, I will take the car, but I'm not paying any more than this. They hemmed and hawed for a little bit, but then they wound up messaging me 2 weeks later, accepting my deal, and I drove the car back. So if you're looking at making a deal and making an offer, you want to give them the best offer you possibly can, and then put some sort of bite against it. Either show them a copy of your bank statements, an approval letter from your bank, something that shows that you're willing to negotiate and you're willing to make business happen because you are a buyer. You're not somebody wasting your time. One of the things that drive me nuts is, like I said, I read the comments in all my videos, and I always hear people crying about the same thing. Oh, there's no deals. I can't get a deal. If you call a dealership and you're like, hey, can you sell me this $30,000 car for $25,000? No. Okay. And they get upset and they hang up the phone and then they cry, oh, the dealers are ripping me off. You have to work with these people. You have to talk to them. You have to let them know what you're thinking and how serious you are. At my dealership, I used to get 30 calls every day of people lowballing me. Just imagine like Facebook, those people message you, how much are you selling your TV? Oh, I'm selling my TV for $500. I'll give you $100. That's exactly how it is with dealerships. Every day we get hundreds of calls of people literally lowballing us. And 9 times out of 10, they're just clowns with no money. They're just dreamers. So we don't take them serious. So the people that call me say, hey, what's your email? What's your fax? I got an approval letter from my bank. I want to submit you a written offer. Then I know they're serious. And then I could take that information and sit down and look at my books. Because like I said, if I bought this car for 80 grand, and I dumped another $4,000 or $5,000 into it for holding costs, and this guy's offering me 80 grand today, I'm gonna seriously think about his offer. I'm like, okay, he's got a check from his bank, it's 80 grand. I'm gonna lose this $5,000, but I'll be able to go to the auction and replace this G-Wagon with a beautiful smart car. So these are my options. Do I hold on to this and cause more damage and accrue more debt? Or do I buy the smart car and give me the opportunity to hopefully make money down the road? My answer, get rid of the G-Wagon, move on to the smart car. Now, with all that being said, don't be afraid to call multiple times, talk to multiple salespeople, and negotiate the best deal you possibly can. Nobody ever said buying a car was easy. I see a lot of people, they'll ask once and they'll just give up afterwards. If I want a deal, I will call, I will bug them, I will let them know I'm serious. I've even flown to other states. I have a friend of mine, he's still complaining that the local Jeep dealership will not give him a discount. And I made a joke, I'm like, bro, you can go to any state in the United States and there are Jeep Wranglers everywhere. You can go to any of these guys and somebody will make you a deal. Vegas, I don't know why, they just don't want to do business. It's the funniest thing. I was born and raised here and I've never bought a car from a dealership here in Las Vegas or bought a car from anybody, period, outside of my personal use, just business. And so it's bad. So that's why I tell everybody, be willing to travel. If you got to fly out of the state, my R8, I bought it out of Florida and I saved thousands of dollars by taking a 6-hour flight and then driving the whole way back. I know it was crazy, but to me, it was totally worth it. My tow trucks, I bought them in Texas, one I bought in California. My other cars, same thing. I've saved so much money because I was willing to travel outside of my area to find out exactly what I need. Another funny thing is, like, I remember every time I get a Subaru, I would always get people from like Colorado, Utah, somewhere where there's a lot of snow. They would always pay me top dollar for my Subarus here in Vegas because they know that if it goes to Utah or somewhere with snow, that all-wheel drive is gold and there's no rust here. They were willing to pay extra amount of money to get that vehicle. So I don't know why people gotten so lazy and wanting to get deals, where back in the day, if you guys remember this, just show my age, we used to get Auto Trader books, and there was a company that used to mail ones from all the different states. So when I was like 16 to like 19, I would get Auto Trader from different states, different cities, different counties, and I would mail them into my house, and I would look through them just to see where I could find a deal. That's how crazy it was back in the day. But now with the internet at your fingertips, there should be no excuse why you guys can't get on the phone, send out 50, 60 emails. Hey, this is what I want. This is how serious I am. Here's the, approval letter from my bank. Let's make a deal. I guarantee you, if you take the time and you send out 50 to 60 messages, you're going to get some traction. Somebody's going to want to deal with you. There's going to be companies, and this is another thing about new car stores. Sometimes they're willing to take a loss on a car just to make a quota. So when I was working with my buddy at Ford, they had a thing where if they sold so many F-150s every month, they would get a massive bonus. And so they were too shy from hitting this bonus. So on the last day, they called everybody up that they weren't able to make a deal with for the last month and drop each car $5,000 just so they can squeeze 2 more out to hit their bonuses, because their bonuses, I believe, was over $200K for that store. So losing $10,000 on 2 trucks is nothing for making $200 grand for the store for just that one day's worth of work. And so don't be surprised if the deal you try to get today will come back and call you later on tomorrow, because I always tell that joke in the comment section. If you're working a deal and they say no, give them a week. They're going to be desperate. They're going to call you. A lot of the salespeople are trained to re-engage with their people and negotiate. So maybe no, hey, I can't take that $30,000 you offered, but I can take 32, 31. And then you can start working back and forth and hopefully get something done. But anyways, this is what happens when dealerships can't sell cars. So keep this in mind, like I said, when you go to negotiate, when you go talk to some of these dealers. Now, new car stores, like I said, they can't drop their prices, but ask them for incentives, bonuses, some sort of captive leasing or financing. They can give you some sort of an edge or give you a discount. Use trade-ins. Ask them if they're offering extra trade-in allowance. If there's loyalty programs, I won't tell you all about that, but you can go into that and find a little bit more. But anyways, I'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. Also, I'm dropping a new channel. It's Automotive Life. It's going to be all basically just almost like a history story of talking about the history of automotive. My first video is going to be the history about the Plymouth Prowler. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. Love to see it. The video is going to drop. I'm going to leave a link in the channel in the description below. We'll see you guys there. And yeah, we'll see you next week.